So now that we've got a Plain Effector set up with our MoText, I'm going to set some basic keyframes on this Plain Effector so that over time it moves from one side of my text to the other, which reveals the text. So to do that, I'm going to start from frame 0 on my timeline. So make sure that you're at frame 0 on your timeline. There's a little coloured dot on the timeline. That's called the playhead, and that tells you at which frame you're at on your timeline. So make sure that's clicked and dragged all the way back to 0 so that we are setting keyframes on this frame. Make sure you've got your Plain Effector selected. You can do that either in your 3D view or in the object list. And there's a little red keyframe button underneath the timeline. When you push that button, it sets a position, scale and rotation keyframe for whatever you have selected. I've got this effector selected, my time's at 0, I'm going to hit the keyframe button and that will have created a keyframe for this object. Now with our animation we're working at 25 frames a second. I'm going to make my reveal of my text last for 2 seconds. So that's going to be 50 frames. So what I'm going to do now that I've set that first keyframe, I'm going to slide my playhead along to frame 50. Once my playhead's at the right point in time, I'm now going to set up the object that I want. So my Plain Effector, I'm just going to drag it across to the side, and I'm going to make sure it's gone a decent way past my text. So there's a bit of a gap there. So my playhead's in the right place, I've shifted my object, hit the keyframe button again. What you should see is a little dotted line appear. That's representing the line of motion that this object is taking. There's little black dots within that line. Those represent every single frame in between the start and the end of that animation. And what you'll also notice on your timeline is there's a couple of small coloured dots. There should be one just under frame 0 and one just under frame 50. So that's showing you visually you've got a couple of keyframes set for this object. You can test that by just hitting the rewind button on your play controls, and if you hit play, it should play through and it'll just keep looping that as long as you want. I'm going to stop that there. That seems to be working.